Hi, I'm Angela Eaton, America's Director for Safecast. I'm here to speak with you today about our experiences building trust through the development of community data assets at public institutions. We'll discuss this in three parts. In part one, we'll talk about Safecast's organizing principles as methods of creating community trust and increasing civic engagement. Part two, we'll discuss some of Safecast's current work with public institutions and how we're managing during the COVID-19 shelter-in-place orders. Part three is a single slide listing some references and credits along with places where the discussion goes deeper. What am I talking about with community or publicly held data assets? With air quality, people tend to know what their experiences are. Quantifying those experiences allows communities to discuss those realities productively with government, industry, and as a group. So we ask the groups we work with, what questions do you have that environmental data can answer? And how can you take action from the data? Being responsive to needs rather than anticipating them is what we call pull over push. In a traditional sense, pull technologies respond to customer demand and push technologies try to develop ideas before there's a need. Safecast is a pull organization in that it's a collection of individuals responding directly to needs as they arise. We find that it's an important aspect of community-driven design. It's also an efficient way of organizing volunteers who jump into projects they're interested in. Volunteers train each other on how to do observations on their data. Non-technical participants take part in monitor development by hosting, maintaining, and providing feedback on monitors. It's important that no one person controls the Safecast effort. It's an organization built on rough consensus. Now I'm going to look at the community experience of open environmental data collection. Here are some reasons people have given for contributing to Safecast and other open data projects. Fairness. People want to know, how will I know what's normal and what's out of bounds if I don't have a way to compare? Inclusion. Is my experience really represented? Trust. How do I know if the data that's currently being collected by other organizations is accurate? There are also real obstacles to community science. An important issue for air quality monitoring is that communities have been burned by pseudo participation. This happens when we're given the impression that we can affect change just by putting up a monitor, but we're locked out of the real empowerment of being able to reconfigure our roles with regards to digital services that we engage with. Pseudo participation by design hurts the overall willingness to participate in projects or trust in government. In this case, full participation includes being the author of data rather than a subject of data collection. In other words, top-down closed organizations result in lost trust. The power of community science, both for communities and institutions, is that it builds trust from no trust. And how do publicly held assets establish trust? Government data, commercially collected data, data collected for academic research, and industry-mandated data collection serve very specific purposes and are not 100% aligned with my or my community's needs. Although each type of data collector can serve an important role in our understanding of air quality, all data can be improved if there's transparency and standardization that allows that data to be used universally. On the left, we have a representation of top-down, closed, push-style organization. Where monitoring happens, to what extent or what data I get to see and freely use means that I have to rely on a provider for environmental data that I may need. Add proprietary algorithms and lack of standardization to the mix, and I may not be able to compare data between organizations even if I do have access. On the right, the first order of trust is for data that I collect myself. Within my community, I may not know the people or the motivations of any individual doing air quality monitoring, but I do trust the data submitted by my monitor. Everyone who's opted in is determining the granularity of the data being gathered for my area. Other monitors are also reading particulate matter, and I can check the raw data files from their monitors. Trust isn't needed between community members because we're all participating willingly, using the same ground rules, and we all have access to raw data from the entire data set. But it also does something else. If we all have equal access to standardized, transparently collected, raw open data, we can begin to have a conversation. Open data can also be used to verify other data sets, increasing the value of each. What's important to remember is that at any time, we may lose access to any data set that is not in the public domain. Sadly, government data which has been dutifully collected for years can be removed from the public view in the change of an administration. Creative Commons Zero, or CC0, is a copyright designation that enables scientists, educators, artists, and other creators and owners of copyright or database protected content to waive their works, placing them as completely as possible in the public domain. Although we appreciate attributions to Safecast as a public dataset, the CC0 designation allows others to freely build upon, enhance, and reuse the works for any purposes without restriction under copyright or database law. As everything is posted to the Safecast platform resides in the public domain with no rights reserved, the air quality data submitted to the platform can be aggregated into larger data projects free from attribution to every participant. This is by design. For instance, if each person with each sensor had to be attributed and our data got rolled up into massive analysis of all historical sensor data to find megatrends, it would be impossible to provide attribution to every single provider of data. Open data is essential to allow people to write software that uses that data freely and combine it with other data. Safecast uses its influence to increase open data participation and calls for the release of closed data sets. Because Safecast data exists in the public domain, there's less reason to keep similar data private. It's important to be understandable, and it's important for that understanding to extend to how data is processed and derived. The Safecast platform displays raw, unprocessed data directly from the sensors. People are free to download all data on the Safecast platform and can either work with the raw data or use it as the basis for other calculations, which we think should be standardized and stated up front. Once the data is uploaded onto the Safecast platform, it cannot be changed or removed. Based on growing public desire for participatory air quality monitoring, Safecast volunteers began talking about how to add particulate matter readings to the Safecast platform. After 4 years of prototyping, the result was the Solarcast. With funding from the Annenberg and Shuttleworth Foundations, 20 Safecast volunteers hosted sensors in Los Angeles. Solarcast monitors were also used to monitor air quality at a Ciclavia event and around the Santa Susana nuclear facility during the 2018 Woolsey fire, when people were interested in both smoke and possible radiation contamination. Some Solarcast monitors are still in use, live information is mapped, and older information can be downloaded. December 2019, Safecast volunteers launched the AirNut Monitor. Our first monitors will be used to support citizen science at the Los Angeles Public Library. Libraries are public spaces and also trusted information and collaboration centers. LAPL has a goal of serving all neighborhoods equally. However, poor neighborhoods make use of the library services to a much greater degree than affluent ones. LAPL reports that 32% of library patrons do not have connectivity outside of the library. By creating and supporting programs, LAPL is not only providing a necessary service, it's increasing civic public participation and trust within the branch communities. This pilot program will take place at 23 branches in Los Angeles and Pasadena. Safecast will train librarians in how to support or create environmental monitoring groups that could range from existing local clubs to after-school classes where students can examine questions and learn about environmental data coming from their monitors and monitors at other locations. Safecast plans to support librarians, both as community members and as representatives of public institutions, with the following goals in mind. We hope to research how open source air quality data may change the personal choices that individuals make to affect climate change. We hope to promote neighborhood science that empowers individuals and communities in their personal health decision-making. We hope to research the effect of open source data collection and environmental data use with regards to individuals and communities' abilities to access public services and interact with local governments. And we hope to further develop a comprehensive data set showing the trends in Los Angeles air quality by neighborhood. Our position is that when collecting and making sense of this information becomes integrated into the ecosystem of a trusted, unbiased neighborhood resource, it gives people the tools they need to increase their understanding of and involvement with the quality of their environment. Using library sites as relay points, environmental sensors will be permanently placed all over the city, sending back data regularly to the library and library members. This is a crucial part of the plan to build community, increase local knowledge, and amplify local leaders' voices. Libraries are uniquely suited to share, promote discussion, and provide analysis for air quality data. By recognizing the emotional and social components of looking at data as a community, librarians are speaking to the core motivations of participating based on personal and community achievement. So how's it been going? COVID-19. This is when community trust in public institutions is most tested. Now we're focused on what can be done in a lockdown. When the project was announced, we imagined 23 monitor deployments at LAPL branches and 5 months of data at this point. In reality, there have been 9 monitors placed with volunteers and 2 at schools. The previous image was actually taken from a school in Los Angeles, Koreatown. But there's an opportunity. Monitors are recording the best air quality in years. We're taking this time to look at data use and data visualization design. Crisis highlights where public institutions are working and where they are not. Community relationships and trust in public institutions are being stress tested. And while good crisis communication is always critical, the gaps in public data show that trust is weaker when people don't have access to good baseline information. Our question now, can communities that are documenting their air quality help reimagine what air quality might look like after reopening, and how can Safecast data be useful in that? I'm looking forward to discussing this with you in the Q&A. We want to officially extend an invitation. Volunteer with us. We believe more data is better and that people should have free access to reliable, trustworthy data about the world around them. We hope you agree. Thanks for spending this time with Safecast.